If not, we'll have him hang up and come back in. A ton to really talk about. Normally we would recap the fights from last week, but I got to be honest, John, I didn't watch them because I was too busy being amongst, I don't know, thousands of people at a kickboxing event that no one in the national media covered because there was no social distancing. There's not going to be... Nope, there he is. John, how's it going? Oh, no. We're lost. Fitch, see if you can hang out and come back on. Do me a favor. Oh. Let's end that one right there. You there, brother?
Yeah, it's
sketchy, right?
pretty crazy. Yeah, I'll
Yeah, hang up and come back in, and we'll start talking about everything that's coming up. I do want to remind everybody to check out John Fitch right here at johnfitch.net. And if you don't know about johnfitch.net, I don't know what to tell you. It's everything John Fitch. It's what else could you ask for? Mr. Fitch is putting together everything from meal plans to training to exclusive videos to the Weight Cut Bible and so much more. I really hope that we're able to do this. I thought we had good internet. Like let's do a speed test really quick. Let's do it live. Speedtest.net. I should be killing it right now. Unless they're fixing the internet here in the hotel.
I'm in.
You are, but you're not. Your video's not showing for some reason, right? Which is weird. Oh, you gotta love.
This technology's just supposed to work. There we are. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, man. It's wild. It's like I thought we were getting ready to not be locked down anymore, and then everything's being locked down again. They're gonna lock the beaches down again. I don't understand. It makes no sense. They finally decided that they're going to do the first 6 weeks of school as homeschool, which is insane because this is what's wild. Before Trump said we need to get the kids back in school, everybody around here was saying, get the kids in school, get the kids in school, get the kids in school. Like it was number one priority because it was racist. They were saying it was literally racist not to get the kids back in school on the first day because they're disadvantaged people who are poor people who can't do any of the education stuff from home. So they're pushing super hard. Yeah, we have to get open. And then the second Trump says, no, we got to get the kids back in school, they switched 180. It makes no fucking sense. It's so confusing. I've been following this guy, man, I can't remember his name, D'Angelo, whatever, on Twitter. He's a homeschool choice, whatever type guy. And he puts all these things in. He talks about how since the 60s or 70s, we've increased school budgets by 230%. We haven't been cutting money to public schools. We've been adding money to public schools. With inflation, we've been adding money to these schools. Mm-hmm. And he's arguing that we need to take that money, like say you spend this much money per child per year because of those schools, mm-hmm. we should send that money directly to the parents.
You're not wrong.
Send the money directly to the parents. If they want to give me $20,000 because that's what it costs per year to do public school, send that money to me and send that money to every parent. And then we decide where our kid gets their education. We can hire teachers. We can have local micro schools. We can have a class. So me and my neighbors can all hire the same teacher mm-hmm. to teach our kids.
Mm-hmm. Again, and they're not going to give you any choice. And it just seems like this is going to go on up through the election, at least. I don't think it's going to stop after the election. I got to tell you, I had dinner with Pat Miletich the next day after the fight. And one of the things we didn't get to discuss on air, we did get to do like a 90-minute broadcast with Jeffrey Wilson and then Luca. But he said he doesn't think there's going to be an election. He thinks that Trump is actually going to cause a national lockdown and suspend the election. Pat's a pretty right-leaning guy. And for him to say that, I was kind of taken aback because there's been some conversations I've had with him where I felt he was too in defense of Trump. Of course, yesterday, Trump made that statement that he wishes Ghislaine Maxwell well twice.
That's wild.
Totally wild. What's even more wild is the mental gymnastics Trump supporters said to defend
the Q
it.
people, it's That's wild, man. It really is wild.
You know,
But
and people,
I think it's more disturbing that Twitter decided to do something against the QAnon people, but like Antifa's cool.
yeah.
Antifa has a body count. They've murdered people. Black Lives Matters, I think, has a body count. They've murdered people. They just found a body in a shop that got burnt down in Minneapolis. So anybody saying that, oh, well, buildings, it doesn't matter to burn a building, but no, people are dying. People are getting killed because of fire. If you set fire to a building, you are an attempted murderer. Period.
I agree 1,000%.
You have no idea who's in that building. You have no idea what's going on unless you've done a complete check of everything, logged everything, made sure nobody's in it, and then set a fire and you're just an arsonist. No, you're an attempted murderer.
Yeah, this isn't Fight Club. It's not a fictitious thing where our men have went in and they've combed the buildings and they've got them out. And it's just ridiculous to me. I want to remind everybody that they can get the audio version of this after the fact at thegruelingtruth.com. I didn't put our fight companion up just because I was on the road and it was a little longer and it ended up being a little dated. But I will make sure to put this one up as a podcast because I think we're going to have a lot of interesting things to say. And actually, the video I did earlier today, John, was first I'm going to destroy Q, and that was all these people, again, that said that Trump was fighting the swamp. He's going to take down Prince Andrew and Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. And then you hear what he said today. And then I said, I'm going to defend it because as it is, they have the right to talk. And not only that, it's such a wide berth of what Twitter is going to consider QAnon accounts. This is going to lead to more censorship. So if I discuss Q in any manner,
that's what,
why are we
going to keep doing is instead of locking everything down all at once, they're going to go one by one, each little thing that they don't like. Oh, well, that's banned. Well, that's banned. Well, that's banned. Well, then it's China. Now we're China. Now we don't even know about any of our history because it's erased and controlled. Didn't Google just do some wild shit controlling search engine results too? I think I briefly read about that. Well, but no, this is a slow rollout of China CC, and I'm just going to say they call it the CCP because people get upset when you say China, but it's the CCP. So this is a CCP rollout of global control, but I don't think it's a country thing. I think it's the banks who control everything. So China is controlled by the banks also. So like the bankers and the people in power, they want this control and they're rolling it out. And China's done the best job of doing it. And that's why, it's not really China doing it. It's China was the first success story.
Thank you. And just to reiterate that with you, John, this is the first time I've appealed a video. The only other video I've ever appealed was the Louis Gomer video where he said Erica Caramello Barr's real name. I got no response. So I didn't really expect a response on this one. But this was my video about Dr. Cameron Siddell, who was the first doctor in New York City to blow the whistle on the ventilators and saying it was killing people. And they took down his source video, and they took down my coverage of it. This was a video that I did back in April. And I obviously said, you know what, this is bullshit. I'm going to fight it. And they just said, nope, it's a bad video. We're taking it down. They are over the top. We are basically China. I wish that were not the case. But when you see, John, lockdowns of entire apartment buildings and mandatory testing in your neck of the woods. This is Ventura apartment building 137 on South Palm Street, where the entire building is locked down. This is not fiction. These are the actual pieces of paper they are putting on the windows and doors. No one in the national media is reporting it. This is the building. But guess who did shit like this, John? China. China locked down entire buildings. All right? And we're here. So when are we going to come to our senses and say, you know what? We have to demand these motherfuckers step down. For instance, we had Georgia this week. Atlanta, the mayor there tried to declare mandatory masks in Georgia. So the governor, to his credit, said, no, we're going to make it so they can't mandate masks anywhere statewide. Great job by the Georgian government. 2 days later, the mayor of Savannah has Lord Cuomo come in and tell everybody how fearful they should be and how great he's done of a job. And
he's a murderer. Cuomo is a murderer. He murdered how many people? Like that, if we want to put one person most responsible for the shit that's happening and the deaths that's happening, Cuomo. He's the biggest piece of shit out of all of this that's happened. Cuomo. Like he's number 2 after the CCP. CCP, Cuomo. That's the list of pieces of shit in this list of people who fucked things up and killed people.
Well, the funny thing was, so before he's getting ready to go to Georgia, right? He does his little press conference, his little dicka-dicka-doo in New York. And one of the reporters goes, well, isn't this kind of just a publicity stunt? And isn't Georgia on the list? At the time, it was, I think, 21 states. It went from 19 to 21. It's up to 31 states, including the one I'm in right now. This one just got banned yesterday. Okay? Missouri's on the list. Literally 31 states he's banned for quarantine. He goes, are you going to quarantine for 2 weeks when you get back? And he goes, wait. Jesse, have you read the law? First of all, what? I'm essential. Bingo. Bing, bing, bing. He he literally goes, bing, bing, bing. I'm essential, so it doesn't count. And he goes, media is too. So apparently I'm essential. I shouldn't have a contact tracer show up to my door. I guess we'll find out, Lord Cuomo. But then he says that the law says that if you're there for less than 24 hours, it doesn't apply. So let me give you an example.
What? Hey man, so when I'm going on my dates, when I ejaculate and vacate, like if I'm not there for 24 hours, good.
Yeah, she doesn't get pregnant, right?
As long as I'm out of the apartment before 24 hours is up.
Well, I was looking at it because at the time, Iowa was on the list, but Illinois was not on the list. So the fight that Militich put on, and a lot of fucking people were there. Matt Hughes was there. Tim Sylvia was there. Jeremy Horn actually fought and made his boxing debut.
Jeremy Horn made his, holy Jesus, 171 fights? Is that where he's at now?
I think those are official, but me and Militich were talking about it. He's like, dude, he's got way over 200. You should see the people that he fought, like sometimes twice a night. But anyway, so
no, like he barely trained or sparred. He would fight every weekend. He would fight Friday night, then drive somewhere and go fight Saturday night.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Jeremy Horn was that guy. You talk about somebody that said, "I'll fight anybody," and meant it. Jeremy Horn was the dude that meant that shit. So the Quad City is set up. So if you're on one side of the Mississippi River, you're in Illinois, which wasn't on the list, and then on the other side is where they held the event in Iowa. So I actually booked hotels in Illinois. So I would sleep every night in Illinois. I would never spend more than 24 hours in Iowa. I didn't even know that this was the thing. I just happened to book hotels. But then I looked at it and I said, oh, I'm gravy. Like they can't even, like even if they want to use
they can't even mess with you.
Yeah. I'm like, well, even if they want to use their selective enforcement, they won't be able to do it. But now that I'm full board Missouri, forget about it. And now we're talking about just about every state you can imagine. Let's see if I still have it up here. I don't. I put it down. But it's nuts. And then I don't know if you've seen this, but basically, here's how it was working. Remember, Florida had this big spike in numbers, and then people were saying they were counting 100%. Well, in reality, there were people that were getting positive results, John, and now this is actually making ABC local media. You won't see this anywhere in the national news, but they were getting test results for tests they'd never taken. So here's how it worked. You would be in line, in your little drive-through, and you would get a number. So this one woman realized she was in the line with people with symptoms, right? She'd gotten her number. She had no symptoms, the one they interview anyway. She drove away. 2 days later, they call her and tell her she's been tested positive. Now she goes, that's impossible. I never even took the test. Then the state put it on her that she had to prove that she was negative despite the fact she never took the test. So then she tested negative and then negative for the antibodies to prove it. She shouldn't have even had to do that. But what they were doing is, let's say she was number 15 in line, right? And she walks out, okay? Let's say the next person comes in who was 16 and they tested positive, right? Well, now
So yeah, so everybody in the chain behind her, it's all wrong.
It's all wrong, and it's there, and that should be admitted, and yet they're still going with these draconian rules. It is insane.
Whoops, let's just pretend that didn't happen.
Yeah, and again, where is this in the national media? It is.
It's kind of like when you're doing your shirt and you miss a button, right? And then you get done. Fuck it, just leave it. Nobody will notice.
See, it depends on what kind of shirt, but if it's a button-up, normally, unless it's like just above the fly, it gets a tuck-in. So I will rebutton. I have to rebutton it, or it looks awkward. Yeah. But apparently the government doesn't have to retest or do anything. We're in bizarro world, dude, and I don't know I don't know, man. I'm on this journey. Iowa's been really cool. I really enjoyed where I am in Missouri, but I stopped in Kansas City 2 days ago, John, and I was going to spend some time there. As soon as I walked into a Phillips 66 gas station and the teenager behind the counter demanded I wear a mask, I left. I'm like, nope, not staying here. I'm going to go back to outside of St. Louis and see how that is. And so far, I've really liked this. South Dakota's marijuana laws suck. But they're voting on full legalization. So if they do that, that's up in the air. There's also a lot of casinos there. So like the gas station had a casino in it. I went to go get breakfast at Denny's. Denny's had a casino in it. Like when Denny's has a casino in it, maybe Sioux Falls isn't the place for me, but I really did like the parks there. A lot of the corporations, though, they were pushing harder than the government. So like when I went to go get a haircut, Supercuts made me wear the mask. And I'm sitting there talking to the lady, and she literally says to me, John, I just do what I'm told. That's the attitude to have right now in 2020. I just do.
Oh, what bad thing could that lead to?
Never in history has doing
Never
what
in
you're
history
told.
is just doing what you're told. I was just following orders. That's all. That always works out. Come on, guys. That's always the best thing to do.
Oh, all right. Let's talk fights. Let's do Bellator first, I guess, because they're first. It's Bandejas versus Pettis. This is Friday night. This is actually my birthday. I was thinking about going to try to get press passes, the whole thing, but then I was like, you know what? I'm not traveling to the East Coast right now. I'm just not going to do it. The other thing that Cuomo says, which is crazy, is he's trying to claim now, John, that that more people want to leave states and are leaving states to come to New York because their numbers are lowered. I can assure you that's complete horseshit.
No, like I saw a graph the other day. It showed the places that were spiking now were places where people from New York moved to. People fled New York and moved to these new places, right, to get a fucking way from murder Cuomo. And then they ended up bringing the virus with them, and that's why these other places are blowing up now. It's because those
There's
people
that
left.
possibility for sure, and I don't listen. It's a mass exodus. Even my ex, who's down in the Bronx, who's with this whole Black Lives Matter thing. And look, I'm not for secret police tearing people out of cars in Portland, and apparently they just sent them to New York City.
They're not even. First off, they're not secret police. They're all identified. They all have arm badges. There was an actual article saying, "Oh, they sent in secret police with no badges or markings," of a picture of a cop that had his name on his arm and his numbers and everything.
Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Because I saw so far the video that
their uniform. They have the DHS. They have little thing. They have their names covered up because people were getting doxxed.
Okay. But what about are we talking about the guys in the military outfits with the gas masks on their faces?
The one I've been seeing a number of press conferences and pictures of the people in question and details pointing out that they are marked.
Well, I'll say this. I'm going to do a full video on it later today with Steve from Slow News Day and Action for Assange. So it's definitely something I'm looking into.
And then the other part of that, right, that people need to talk about, if that is happening, if they are detaining people, why do they have the ability to do that? Who made that possible?
Well,
do you know? Do you guys know? Do you know who made it possible for the government to come and detain anybody for any length of time for any reason? Do you know who did that?
I would say it's George H.W. Bush. I'd say after the Patriot Act. I mean, you go with Obama, but
but Obama made it like crystal clear. Like it was wishy-washy under Bush. Like they made it, oh, maybe we could do this. But like, boom, I was like, nope, we're doing this. Indefinite detention of all U.S. citizens. Boop. Thanks, Obama.
Well, I remember, people say this is unprecedented, but it's not. So they did this in 2009 when I was at the G20. 100% did it. Okay. And then they did it during Occupy. They did it during Occupy. At the throes in the end of Occupy. And both of those, by the way, to your credit, are under the Obama administration for sure. But you look at the Patriot Act, you look at these definitions, and yeah, look, I don't like secret police. I'm a pro-protest guy, but some of these protests are also absolutely ridiculous. Did you see that picture of the girl who was naked, spread eagle?
Yes.
Can you imagine?
It's the most pathetic thing ever. When a woman has to take off her clothes to get attention, like it's showing you that she has nothing else to offer. You have nothing else to offer. There's nothing about your being as a human that is worth anything other than your naked body. That's what you're saying. When the French, whatever people in the femmes, when everybody, they show their tits, they do all that stuff. That's what they're saying is, I have nothing of value to say. I mean nothing. Nobody cares about me, but I'm naked. So now they're going to look at me. It's like you have zero value other than your nudity. That's gross.
Well, the other part of that is, can you imagine if I decided to strip down and spread eagle in front of a bunch of fucking police officers at a protest? Do you think I don't get arrested? I think I don't even get balls deep. I get down to boxers before I'm tackled, hogtied.
Pepper sprayed in your junk.
I'm
Take
just
a
saying.
sandbag in the sack. Oh, you willing to take a sandbag in the sack for liberty?
No,
How
I don't know
American
that I
are
am.
you?
Not that kind. I mean, if I really think it's that time of the day, if it's fucking less lethal plastic bullets and, like you said, the sandbags, I'm wearing a cup and I'm proud. I know people that literally, when they go to these things, they tape fucking phone books around their body and then throw a shirt on under it. And I mean, if you're really thinking you're going to get hit like that, I don't know what to tell you, because I'm all about protesting. But then again, even in 2009, I don't like covering faces. You know what I mean? And all these people are always, they want to be anonymous, right? They don't want to show themselves. They're causing violence. Peaceful protest all day, bro. But the minute you start hiding your face, your agenda, to me, isn't worthwhile. Like, everybody should know who you
well,
are.
and there's also a lot of optics going on in Portland too. Like they had the mothers against whatever stuff. Like Andy Ngo is a guy who follows these Antifa people quite a bit, and he's pointing out, like, I know these women. Most of them don't have children. A lot of them don't identify as women. They purposely put on the yellow shirts as an optic trick to trick people into, oh, we're peaceful people. Oh, women are doing this. No, like they go home, put on their black shit, and try to start fires. Attempted murder. I think if you're setting a building on fire, you are committing attempted murder, and response by the police should be a bullet in the head.
I'm with you. Bandejas or Pettis? Who you got? Pettis obviously left the UFC looking for a little more scratch. I think Bandejas is a dangerous opponent for him and an up-and-comer in Bellator. I'd kind of like to see the upset. I'd like to see Bandejas.
I mean, I don't know enough about this Pettis. But
Oh, you
yeah, I
haven't
mean,
seen it?
anytime you can have a a non-UFC guy perform very well against somebody who was in the UFC and made a name and had a name and whatever. Like I'm kind of cool with that. But yeah, I still want cross promotion.
I think it's a close fight. Like, Pettis did all right in the UFC. He had a couple of losses, and I think he came off a loss, so he didn't quite have the negotiation power he wanted to. But they're both, guys on the feet, and Bellator likes that. They love a couple stand-up fighters in the main event. Again, I'm glad that this is happening, but I really wish that Scott Coker had pushed for an audience, man. Someone has to. Like, Coker and I guess Coker had done Militich's podcast not so long ago, a couple months ago, and he was asking whether they would have people. Someone's got to break through. It can't just be the Mississippi Valley Fairgrounds. Dana, I get it. You're over in Fight Island, and you're coming back to Nevada maybe. But we got to push back. And the sooner we push back and the sooner we gather in thousands outside of some media, military, industrial complex protest, the better.
I mean, if everybody just hold the fights and then put up the Black Lives Matter poster or billboards, posters, flyers, everything. And then we'll have a Black Lives Matter event. Okay. We can take a knee in between each fight. And then everybody can be there and we'll watch fights.
Well,
Since
I'll tell
it's
you what.
okay. It's okay to be in groups when that's happening.
Yeah. What was great about the Nunn versus Miletich fight was that Michael Nunn, obviously a black guy, had the Black Power shirt on, had a ton of black people in the audience. There's a lot of Hispanic people in the audience, men, women, white people. I know the demons were there. There were white people.
Man.
And everyone was having a good time, dude.
People weren't being oppressed. What?
No. And
Oh,
I was shaking hands. I took a hit off of somebody's pen, had a beer with somebody, even had a fan come up to me and watch the last couple fights with me who'd recognized me while I was going through at the intermission, showing that thousands of people could get together and no one's going to get sick. But at the end of it, after, Michael Nunn talked, Pat Miletich said, look, don't close your business. The real pandemic in this country is the fact that we have so many children going missing every year. And, dude, he stepped up to the plate. He did that. I mean, I couldn't have been a bigger fan at that moment because he used his voice for something that's important today. And we need more Pat Miletiches in the world. Doesn't matter if you're a Republican, a Democrat, I don't care. Mm-hmm. If you're willing to step up and stand up to these atrocities, and props to the governor of Iowa for pushing it, because I'll tell you this, I got there before anybody. I got there at 4 o'clock. Monty Cox gave me a press thing, and I watched the first Iowa State commissioner, right? Because there was big articles in the Quad Cities about how the one Iowa State commissioner said he was going to retire if they actually put this fight on, and he was so mad, and this is insane. So the first guy goes in, he gets in the ring, he doesn't have a mask on, he's hitting the ropes back and forth. I'm like, all right, I like this guy. Half an hour later, some other dude in an Iowa State Athletic Commission rolls up. He's got his mask on. He wants to know where the weigh-ins are happening. The weigh-ins happened yesterday. He's throwing his authoritative bullshit around. He's telling the ring girls they can't go here or do that. And I'm like, who is this motherfucker? And why does he have so much power? He's the one sitting there with his mask up against the ring.
And these commission guys, they're not elected into their positions. They're unelected douchebags that get, buddied or favored into spots by the elected people.
Well, what I thought was really funny is when I was doing my intermission video and I started walking, lo and behold, who do I walk by while the intermission is on? It's this Iowa State Athletic Commission douchebag that's been wearing his mask the entire time, taking off his mask, John, among thousands of people. So magically, it worked while he was right up against the ring, where you could literally get blood and sweat on you because this is a boxing match and people are getting hit in the fucking head again and again and again. And bodily fluids come that way. But while he's among everybody else, all of a sudden the optics aren't there and the camera's not on him, and he takes it off. And that's really what's going on everywhere.
No, it's a visual representation of virtue signaling for a lot of people. You're immoral if you're not willing to wear the mask for everybody else. Where's your empathy?
Oh, Jordan Mean coming to Bellator. I can't believe they don't have a picture of Jordan Mean, a guy with 43 fights. Get on it, Coker. Everybody has a picture of Jordan Mean. Maybe UFC owns his likeness or something.
You don't have a friend. You don't have a friend with an iPhone. The new iPhone. This thing takes unreal portraits, professional portraits. You don't need to go and pay somebody to take your portrait for your headshots anymore. You can seriously use your iPhone. You may pay somebody to come over and do your headshots, and they'll show up and they won't have their, whatever, the SLR camera. They'll have their iPhone.
Yeah.
So you can't tell the guy, it's hey, stand in front of a white wall, find somebody with the newest iPhone and do a portrait picture.
It's again, who's running these websites? I figure you could do better. I don't know much about Jason Jackson, 11-4, 31-12. It's probably going to be a banger. Jordan Mean's another guy that likes to sit there and kickbox for the most part. He does grind up against the cage a little bit of dirty boxing, but he's certainly not a sub guy. So that looks like an interesting fight. Don't know much about Tywin Claxton. In fact, no. The only thing I know about Tywin Claxton...
He's had some exciting fights.
Yeah.
Claxton, I think.
Well, you got Pico versus Hatley Jr. Again, a couple of bangers, and we all know that Pico likes to fucking strike. Listen, 4 fights on the main card.
He likes to strike. Great wrestler, but that chin, man, he should not have the record he's had, and it's partly I think because they didn't build him properly, and then they threw him into big fights or into these fights too soon. I think he needed more preparation.
I mean, what's he been on the scene for? 2 years? Maybe 2.5? Not much. I mean, 2.5, maybe 3 years. So, Aaron Pico, I still.
And they basically went off of the idea that, well, he's already a great wrestler, and he's had a lot of boxing experience through amateur boxing. So they're just like, okay, he's ready, throw him in. So he hasn't had any MMA training. He's had boxing and wrestling. I think that's a mistake. He should have had at least a couple of years. He should be starting his pro career now, not when they started him. That's when he should have started training 5 times a day to get ready to start fighting MMA.
I mean, Pico
just my 2 cents.
He got knocked out when we went to the Garden, right? He was in that fight. He looked great.
He's been knocked out twice, kind of bad. They didn't look good. They look like a 40-year-old guy who's had 40 fights getting knocked out.
Yeah,
again.
They were clippage. They were clippings. All right. Before we get to this main card, which is fucking unbelievable. What a great fight night card.
Saturday's going to be. It's Saturday, right? Saturday?
Yeah, it's Saturday. Okay. Dude, they have Fabricio Verdum fighting Gustafsson in a heavyweight fight. We're going to get to that in a minute. Yo, that's huge.
Great.
I love that. Let's see what we got for prelims, because I hadn't seen much. I know about Trinaldo, but let's go through it. Nathaniel Wood, John Costenda. I couldn't tell you anything about these guys. Let's see if we can. Yeah, we can do it like that, right? Boom. What do we got? We got 16-4 versus 14-2 at 135. John is in black and white for some reason, which is very bizarre to me. But I don't know, man. If Nathaniel Wood is the prospect, maybe, but it looks like that's a pick'em. I have no idea what the Vegas odds are on that. Then we have, let's see, it's going to take forever to fucking do these now because I'm in the hotel. Ramazi MZ versus Nicholas Stoltz. I feel like I've watched Stoltz fight, but I couldn't have because he has a 0-0-0. That's probably not true. UFC has been good at this. Yeah. And this guy's 18-4. He looks like he's out of Dagestan. I think I'm taking the Dagestani.
It's kind of like in box.
Fetch, but
you've never heard of one of the
Hold on one second. Let's go back. Let's get rid of these. Damn you. I was so close. I was so close to it actually working. And now he froze. But hopefully he's going to come back because I want to go through these for sure.
I should be here. I'm here.
Yeah, you're here. It's me because I was daring to use my internet on the download. Yeah. Let's see. So after Betch and Panny, you got Tanner Bozer, who had that knockout, versus Rafael Peso Nuns. Don't know much about him, but I like the way Tanner looked, man, in his last fight. He looked like he was jacked up and ready to go. Let's see. We'll wait for John to hopefully come out of the buffer zone there. Moser Eveloff. Yeah, there you are. Versus Mike Grundy.
But these is the deep card here. The
deep state card.
Yeah, the deep card here. I don't know. Recognize a lot of these names.
I mean, I know Francis Trinaldo, but I don't know Jai Herbert. But apparently, that's going to be the featured prelim. Don't know. And then let's go to the main card. Man, there's a lot of fights on this card. Jesus, is there like 17 fights here? Alex Oliveira versus Peter Sabata. I don't know who Peter Sabata is, but Alex Oliveira he's a top-notch guy. He's not ranked, but he's been in that top 15 in welterweight. Paul Craig versus, I don't know who this is. Esparza versus Rodriguez. That's a close fight. Everybody wants to see Esparza win. She's kind of cute. Hopefully John's back to talk Verdum Gustafsson. Who do you got?
Oh, Gustafsson moves to fighting those big guys, and if you don't have the cardio to push around that big guy for
Verdum didn't look great in his return. He looked totally sloppy. And Gustafsson didn't look bad in his last fight, but obviously he's not going to make 205 weight. I don't think this is a fight where he's actually planning on going up in weight for good. It's probably something he took to make some money. Because didn't he retire? I was going to say, I thought Gustafsson had retired, right?
Yeah. He did. Yeah, he was retired. He was retired, and then, he decided he wanted to make some money and moved heavyweight. Why not?
I mean, if Fabricio's doing something other than eating cake and pudding, it would be hard for me to say he loses, but
yeah, this is another thing too that Gustafsson might be thinking of, is because, maybe he's thinking, hey, maybe I can beef up, do well as a heavyweight, and DC's retiring, so Stipe may be going too. Who knows how many more fights does he have into him? So he might be thinking like, hey, these guys have their big fight. When they're done, they may both retire. There's going to be a belt out there for grabs. Maybe I need to get back in and see what's going on right now.
And that's true.
Because who else? Because if he can beat Verdum, like what other heavyweights, I don't know.
No, we do know, because the heavyweight division is the thinnest division out there. It is. 100%. It's the thinnest division out there.
And they're the highest paid.
Hey, the weirdest thing. Watch big boys bang.
Because they just like watching them. Yeah, it's all about popularity, because they're not the best fighters. They're not the most skilled. Like most heavyweights, you're not going to go and take private lessons from them and learn technique.
No, it's rare you're a Daniel Cormier, and honestly, even though he hits that 265-pound mark, he's just a thick. I mean, you train with the fucking guy.
Yeah,
he's a barrel. He's like a thick human being. He doesn't. His build is not like most heavyweights. I mean, he's barely 6 foot, isn't he?
He's might be 5'10".
Yeah, exactly. And to not only hit 260, 265, but then manhandle some of those dudes. I remember when he was the alternate in that Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix, and he came in there like a bat out of hell and just took it. My brother was telling me, look, man, you need to watch this dude, because I think he was either on the Challenger Series or he had like one fight in Strikeforce before that, and I'd watched him. He's like, this is the next big thing, dude. You got to watch him. And then after that heavyweight Grand Prix, I'm like, damn, this dude is the next big thing. And Daniel Cormier is a legend. Talk about legends. Here we go. Hua versus Antonio Rogerio Nogueira in Nogueira's retirement fight. That's a pick'em.
Yeah, it is. And it's like, isn't it the third fight?
Is it? Have
or
they
something like that? Have they fought before?
I thought I saw it. Let's look it up.
I thought I saw. Maybe I'm wrong.
You know what? That's a tough one, because did his brother, did Big Nog always fight heavyweight, or did in Pride was there a little bit more room where they kind of had those open weight fights?
I mean, they did a lot of like open weight fights, but man, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't want to risk looking it up and lose the good connection with you.
Because they would match guys up for non-title stuff or whatever.
Well, I remember post Pride, when Dream was there, they had Gegard Mousasi fighting dudes that were like 30, 40 pounds bigger than him, and Mousasi was doing it. Then we get to Robert Whittaker, the #1 ranked middleweight, versus Darren Till. Darren Till said some funny things already. I don't know if you've seen this. It's kind of controversial, but he was saying, yeah, I hope that Whittaker wakes up and feels like shit, and I don't get the best Whittaker when he's in there. I hope he's slouching and sloppy. And to me, that's just him being honest, because Robert Whittaker is a badass motherfucking striker. That's his game. He's tough as nails, and I think that, I think it's a good fight, but if Darren Till can get the upset, Darren Till... I think what was his last fight? The loss to Masvidal, or do you have one in between it?
I don't remember another fight. I think the Masvidal fight.
Yeah, so do I, and that's a while ago. You're coming off a loss. You're still ranked #5. What better way to say that you're the #1 contender than to beat the #1 contender? So, to me, especially with the way fans think and how their memory is and how most are casuals anyway, this is kind of a win-win for Till no matter what. Even if he loses to the #1 guy, does he really lose any stock in the middleweight division or in the UFC? They've obviously been pushing the motherfucker. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean it's when you don't have anything to lose, it's a safer fight for him. He's downplaying his training, talking about being fat and whatever he was
Well, I mean, he
doing,
could barely make 170
hoping his opponent
before.
isn't ready.
Listen,
Yeah.
again, he barely made 170 before. He's missed weight a couple times. He's huge at 170. I'm sure he's still a big 185er. I'm looking forward to it. Again, it's a banger. These guys are both stand-up striking guys. You don't see a lot of ground game. I think as long as Robert Whittaker is healthy, I can't bet against him, but who knows? Darren Till's got big fucking hands, John. Big fucking hands. John Fitch, what can you tell us about your fighting return?
I'm getting ready. There's fights this weekend, the 24th, of course, and then they got another show coming up in August, and we're still seeing if I'm going to get on that show. I don't know. Well, I can't talk about any more of it. I'm not supposed to. There's still a lot of things up in the air, but like, yeah, mostly I can't say possible opponents or date either. I just know that I'm getting ready, and there's a good chance that in August sometime I'm going to fight.
Awesome, man. I've been waiting for it. I can't wait to see you back in there. It's been a long
I'm
time since
down.
you're.
I'm down to 190 right now. So I went from 3 months ago on when was it? It was April 20th. On 420, I weighed myself and took pictures. I was 218.
So you've
And
been
then
reading your own book, that Weight Cut Bible?
yeah, so that's yeah. Well, I mean, I just started re-implementing I cut out the booze and the carb, the kid snack crap that I was eating. So that's the big part of it. Like that's those carbs, the evil carbs. You got to have the good carbs, the right carbs in your body, and like you get you get used to eating certain foods. So if your palate gets used to fucking graham crackers and carbs and whatever the shit you're eating, like you're gonna crave that more. So you really got to stay away from it.
I mean, dude, being on the road, like not like I was in the best shape before, but I'm already seeing like cottage marks and like I'm like, my God. And like last night,
Yeah, that's inflammation. You got to cut out the sugar, way down on the sugar. Like my sugar comes from mostly alcohol if I have sugar.
well, I've
If I'm
noticed that
doing good with
too.
my weight and other stuff, I might get some like healthy popsicles,
Mhm.
but those are mostly for the kids.
You know what? That's one of the things that's kind of. I miss the girls. I miss my nieces. You know what I mean? But other than that, it's like eating. I'm like, man, I miss being able to prepare myself a steak and some Brussels sprouts, and that's it. And like last night in the area I'm at, sure, I could have driven into St. Louis and probably found some place to eat 20 miles away, but I wanted to eat something here, so I went to the local bar. They shut their kitchen down early at like before 9 o'clock, and I'm like, God damn it! I end up having to eat Taco Bell, and it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrible.
And then yeah, dude, and then your stomach afterwards.
Dude, it's not what I wanted. And I'll say this. The Popeyes chicken sandwich lives up to the hype. I hadn't had it before I hit the road, and it is fantastic, folks, but it can't be
Road
good
food.
for me, and I shouldn't be eating it 3 to
Nope.
5 times a week.
It'll preserve your intestines for 10,000 years.
Before we wrap it up, one of the conversations I had with Militich was about vitamins, supplements, and he's one of those guys that says basically most vitamins, if not all vitamins, are pretty much trash because the enzymes are dead in them. What's your viewpoint on that? Like, are there certain supplements you think are better than others? I know you never done the creatine. You're not a nitric oxide guy.
Well,
Like, what?
I did creatine in high school, college, or whatever, and it's more of like a bodybuilding thing, I think, honestly. If you're trying to build muscles, big muscles, that's fine, but like you don't need to do that if you're trying to be a martial artist, or just a regular person. So like eating the right foods. I have supplementation and stuff that I do that's on my blog and johnfish.net that talks about my neck healthcare stuff that I do. A lot of supplementation is for that, but the supplementation is for joint pain, right? Joint pain, keeping your joints supple and healthy. So like anybody could use them, and the zinc and the other minerals and stuff that are in there also, they help with testosterone production.
So wait, are you still doing the Gorilla Mind Rush stuff?
Every once in a while, I do a grill mind rush.
I mean, to me, it's just like, it's got to be better than nothing. You know, it's got to be better than zero. Now, whether or not your body absorbs it because it doesn't treat it like food, and they always say, well, it has a better absorption rate when you eat food, and I try to do that as well. I don't know. I mean, he was talking to me about this product called Black Oxygen, which I'm looking into, and I'm definitely going to check out. You check it out. You tell me what you think about it. But that's what he was on, and he actually did one in front of me, showed me what he was up. Pat Miletich looks fucking great for 54. They got him listed at 52. That dude is 54 years old, and I mean, he looked awesome. I couldn't believe it. Like, if anything, both of the guys were in pretty good shape. Michael Nunn at 57 had a little bit of a belly, but his hands were so quick. And honestly, he's trying to angle for a boxing match against Roy Jones Jr., which if there was going to be one, you know, two older guys boxing, that's one I would watch. I would watch that fight. I mean, I don't have problems with, like, Legends fights. I don't have problems when it's, Chael
I don't have problems with any type of fight as long as the fighters aren't being exploited. The fighters are the labor and the product. They deserve 50% or more of the gross revenues, period. If that's not happening, the fighters are being exploited. And if promoters want to bitch and moan about, oh, we spend this on this and this, then show your numbers. Show us. Let's see where the money's going. Right? They have to do it in boxing already. Do it with us. Show us where the numbers are going. Show us how much you're spending. Because people made that excuse for the UFC for a while until we actually filed the lawsuit and then we got discovery and we actually got to see the numbers. And that was a fucking major bullshit argument. Their production costs are minimal.
They're even less now. I mean, let's be honest. And I get it. They're losing gates, but those gates weren't as big a deal as the Disney deal, the ESPN deal.
Or just the merchandising that they have, the merchandising stuff that they have. I think they're making more money from merchandising, like that other aspect of things that have nothing to do with events. They're making more money from that than all the other stuff combined. That's what that's what nobody's really talking about. They never mention those numbers because those aren't public numbers. We don't really know how much money they're making through, you know, Reebok kits and Dorito deals and whatever the hell they're selling.
$140 for a Reebok kit. I mean, that's just for like the
jerseys and whatever, man, towels, whatever they got, all of it.
Folks, you can find everything John Fitch over at johnfitch.net. That includes the Wake Up Bible. That includes Falling Upwards, which you get 2 chapters of anyway for free if you buy the Wake Up Bible. You can also check his Rockfin out and YouTube channel, all that stuff going on. How's John Fitch Knows Nothing this week? What are we missing?
Well, tomorrow I have a special interview with John McAfee.
Oh, you got it tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning, yeah.
Oh, I'm stoked.
That's when he was going to be available, so we're gonna do that then. And then I think I'm getting I think it's this guy Alex Feinberg. I think we're loosely going to talk on Sunday. We're setting that up now, but he is a food guy. His handle is Sustained Gluttony, I think. And
Sustained Gluttony.
Sustained Gluttony, yeah, that's it. At Sustained Gluttony, that's his at on Twitter. But he's a big pro protein meat type person, and we're going to
like the protein. I had some what was it? Some Panda Express today. Some steak. It was delicious. First time I've had vegetables, and I've refused the carbs. I said I didn't want the lo mein or the pork fried rice. You can support me over on GoFundMe. After all, I am fully demonetized on this platform, and I've lost several hundred subscribers over the last 2 days because I dare to call out the QAnon nonsense, and I dare to criticize the president for wishing Ghislaine Maxwell, a human trafficker of children, well twice. Sorry, not sorry. I'm not bowing down to the left mob. I'm not bowing down to the right mob. I'm going to call it like I see it. Remember, if you support myself or John on Rockfin, you get all these creators, including Ben Askren, Jimmy Dore, Kim Iverson, Nico House, Sam Tripoli, and many others. And I want to remind everybody, you can get the podcast audio version after this over at thegruelingtruth.com. John, thank you so much for joining me, brother.
All right, man. Thanks for having me, Jason.
Love you. See you later.
Later.